Did you know that over 80% of people that start in a new training program or personal training quit within the first few months? Well, let's talk about how you can make a great personal training based program to not only get clients results, but keep them coming back so you can continue to work with them for years upon years. Hi, Brandon Smitley here from Thirst Gym. I've been working with personal training clients for over a decade, and I have some clients I'm still working with to this day that have been about 10 years. When it comes to personal training, there's one thing that matters, and that's consistency and keeping them to continue to come back. Now, the reason I like to say this is because as personal trainers, I don't really want to get people results. We're pretty passionate about what we do, but at the end of the day, if we want to make a livelihood of doing this, we don't want to get them the results, we want to keep them coming back. What makes our personal training sessions so great that we continue to have our clients continue to come year after year? Well, I'm about to show you in this video. One of the worst things about the personal training industry is that there's cookie cutter programs galore. Now, while I like to personally use templates and ideas of how I'm going to work with people, I write my programs individually based upon the person that I'm seeing in front of me. And so cookie cutting programs are even more prevalent nowadays through online and remote coaching. So really make sure not only are you getting a program that's designed for you, or if you're writing programs for the person in front of you, but writing individual based programs not only keeps your clients coming back, but they can tell that the program is tailored towards their personality, how they train, what they need. The results that they're getting are going to be reflected based off the program that we're going to show you today. So make sure that when it comes to writing your training program, you're actually looking at the person in front of you. You're not just making stuff up off the top of your head, and we're going to show you how to write great programs today. Now, when it comes to writing great personal training programs for individual based clients, there's three things that you really need to check. First is going to be a tailored or individual warm-up based upon an assessment process that you've done. If you've not done an assessment process, you're already in the hole. So do an assessment process of some kind so you get an idea of how your client moves, what their goals are, what are their limitations, what do their exercise history look like, what have they done in the past, and why are they coming to you and what's not worked well for them, so that you can already have an idea of where to start. Sometimes just knowing where to start well is going to put your program so much farther than other people's, they're going to have no reason but to come back because they're like, wow, I didn't have a detailed intake process like that with anybody else that I've worked with. And by doing so, you're going to have that individual program much easier to write. As I mentioned, then having your warm-ups, your correctives listed out, having your actual strength programs and the main exercises that you're looking to implement to help this athlete or client move and feel better is then going to be easy pickings as we go to write it. Then just follow some very basic guidelines when it comes to writing your sets, your reps, how long you want things to take, how long is the training session going to be, what kind of supersets are we going to use, do we need more conditioning, do we need more hypertrophy, do we need more strength? All these questions will be very easy to answer once you've actually done that intake process and you've talked to your client and you know exactly what you're looking to write. All right, let's say we've already done our intake and assessment process of our client. We're gonna say it's a female and she's 52 years old and she's just looking to move better, feel better, and maybe drop some pounds. The main thing that we wanna focus on here with this client is not only helping them move and feel better, which should be pretty easy, but if they wanna lose a couple pounds, we know that we're gonna have to talk about nutrition just a little bit, and then we're gonna develop our program to make sure that they're moving constantly throughout our training program and we're getting the most out of our hour training session. So where I first like to start when it comes to writing my training programs is looking at the dynamic movements and the warm-ups that we're going to do, because before we can even do anything, we got to get them moving and feeling better based upon what we saw on our assessment process. So the first thing I like to do for the warm-up process, and I know people are going to say foam rolling is a waste of time. Well, I hate to tell it to you, I have all my clients foam roll. And why do I have them foam roll? Because it makes them feel better. It gets them rolling, moving around, being in different positions that they probably aren't in during a day-to-day movement of their life. And if this person is 52 years old, I'm gonna bet that more than likely their activity has them sitting or not moving around a lot. So just by doing some foam rolling for 3 to 5 minutes, well, it might seem like a waste of time. If this helps my athlete or client feel better, I'm gonna do it. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick 2 to 3 dynamic movements that just get them moving. So some people, this might be, hey, we're gonna ride a bike or we're gonna use an elliptical. Personally, I like to use different lunge, crawling variations, jogging, karaoke, things that use their body weight and get them moving throughout space. The reason I like to do this is everybody to me has athletic potential to some degree. We want to restore that. If you move and feel like an athlete, you're not only going to move better, but after we're done with this, their heart rate is elevated. They feel better. And now it's time to actually go get ready for the training session and I can make sure that my athlete's probably, or my client is not gonna actually get hurt, but they're actually gonna be warmed up, sweating, and ready to go. All right, after we've got our general warm-up done, next thing I like to focus on are correctives. And you might say, well, what are correctives? Well, based on our assessment process, we've found that there's certain areas that our client doesn't move well in. That might be hip flexor mobility, ankle mobility, shoulder mobility, you name it. Your assessment process should help you figure that out. So what I like to do is find anywhere from 2 to 4 exercises that are really gonna help this person move better before we actually get into our training session. So we're gonna pick 2 to 4 things, and a lot of times, for most personal training clients, you're gonna find that this is kind of a general same theme. Tight hips, tight shoulders, achy back, achy low back, knees are bothering them, things of that nature. So the thing that we really like here is we really like a couch stretch, but you can pick almost any hip flexor based mobility that you want, and it's probably gonna fall well here. We also usually pick some kind of hamstring mobilization. So we really like the leg lower. That's one that we go to quite a bit. The other option now would also be something like hip switches, or not hip 90-90s, depending upon what you call them. This would be another option that we could throw in there. Next, we could look at something from an upper body perspective. We really like side lying windmills. Okay, these are 4 things that we like a lot. Your other options is you could do a kettlebell arm bar. You could do different hip switch variations. So you could do them with ER or IR. You could do different breathing and resets. So many times we'll actually give them breathing and reset drills to get them feeling better, get their pelvis back behind them, improve their respiration mechanics. These are all easy options of correctives, and we only have to go through these one time. So we could do 5 on each side. We could say we're gonna do 8 on each side. And here we'll do 5 on each side. And we'll just say we're gonna do, we do the kettlebell arm bar, and again, we'll do 5 on each side. So I've already picked the things I'm gonna do. So we walk them through those correctives. And once these correctives are done, not only are they warmed up and feeling better, now we've got their hips opened up, we got their hamstrings feeling good, their hips are opened up a little bit more, so we kind of move everything together here. We're gonna hip internal and external rotation. Kettlebell arm bar is gonna help us open up our thoracic mobility, our shoulder mobility, and even aid some of our hip mobility that we did up here. Now they're actually ready to strength train, but we gave them things that are tailored towards their assessment process. And once we factor in this in our training warm up, you're looking usually on average, we've got 10 minutes of our 60-minute session done. Usually plenty of time to get 50 minutes of actual quality work in. Okay, now probably what you've been waiting for is the actual training session itself. We've got the dynamic warm-up covered, we've got the correctives covered, our client's ready to go. What do we do? The big thing I like to start here is I always like to start with supersets. So since we got this person coming 2 times a week, I'll kind of leave this here so that you know for reference. Since we've got this person coming 2 times a week, I want to pick 2 exercises that I really like here to get the most bang for their buck. Now, if this is somebody that I feel needs to work on their mobility drill, many times you'll find an extra mobility drill here for me personally, but it just really depends. I'm not gonna do that today. We're just gonna give you the basic training session for a personal training client that's supposed to move and feel better and based on our assessment process. So the first thing I like to do is usually pick a bilateral squat. We're gonna say our client has poor hip mobility based upon what our previous correctives and everything look like. So what I'm gonna give them is a heels elevated squat, goblet, and our first week we're going to do 3 sets of 8. Nothing crazy, but we're going to make sure that we get their center mass put back and we're actually getting some quality lower body work here. The next thing I like to usually do is pick a pulling exercise, and usually unilateral. One of my go-tos here for somebody that happens to be presenting like this is a half kneeling single arm cable row. And the same thing to make it easy for them, we just do 3 by 8 per side. So, as you can tell, lower body, upper body, bilateral, unilateral at the same time. We've got some rowing here, and also being in the half kneeling position, we're still continue to work on our hip flexor mobility. So this seems to be a great superset. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go B1 and B2. So again, I like to go lower body, upper body for majority of my training sessions with my clients. So I'm gonna pick a lower body exercise since this was bilateral. Now I'm gonna go unilateral. So I'm gonna go with a offset kettlebell kickstand RDL. And same thing, I'm just gonna go 3 sets of 8 per side. And since I've got a unilateral lower upper here, I'm gonna look up here. I'm probably gonna still keep this as a unilateral exercise for this particular client, but once we actually had a horizontal movement here, I'm gonna pick a vertical movement here. We're gonna assume that their shoulders are probably not the best, I'm sorry. So we're gonna go with a half kneeling, single arm, landmine, overhead press. And again, we're gonna do 3 by 8 per side. Okay, so as you can tell from our first 2 exercises or supersets that we've got lower body squat, a lower body hinge, an upper body pull, an upper body push. We're in different planes of motion, and we've got these supersets that are not going to conflict with each other, right? My row should not affect my squat. My press should not affect my RDL or my hinge pattern. My grip is not really an issue in anything in either of these exercises. So this should get my athlete, or my client in this case, moving very well, feeling good with our main strength exercises for the day. Let's see what we got last for accessory work and conditioning. Okay, so like I said, now we're actually gonna focus on working on our accessory work and our conditioning. So we've got our main strength work. So now we're gonna go to C1 and C2. Again, I usually like a lower body exercise, again, for my first one, and an upper body one for my second one. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pick something that helps restore their range of motion and their movement patterns a little bit more. So what I'm actually gonna do here for this particular client is I'm gonna do a lateral sled drag. And that gets them moving side to side, and we're gonna do that 3 by 25 yards per side. Okay, now I need an upper body exercise. Here's where I'm gonna pick some kind of prehab or preventative based exercise. So here I'm gonna go with a half kneeling band face pull. And we're gonna do 3 by 10 per side. So we're gonna build up that upper back, help the shoulders, get some extra hip flexor mobility here being in a half kneeling position. And now we can actually do some conditioning and some abdominal work. So here's what I'm gonna go with D1, D2, and D3. So from a conditioning perspective, the first thing I wanna focus on here is I wanna make sure I get my abdominal trunk work in first. So here, we're just gonna go with a dead bug, go pretty simple. And we're gonna do 3 by 10 seconds per side. And now we can actually have our conditioning portion. Okay, so for here, what I really want to focus on is making sure they're doing something movement related, but at the same time, making sure they get their heart rate up quite a bit. So a very simple one that I like for people that are new, if we're saying that she needs more mobility about her hips, she needs to continue to move side to side well, she needs to do cyclical based things to make sure that she's feeling good, nothing too crazily heavy for her conditioning side. Something I really like is a short seated alternating med ball slam. Okay, and then I'll go to the sets and reps here in a second. And this is an upper body based activity. Can I find a lower based conditioning activity that's going to work well also? So again, I'm gonna pick the bike. We'll say sprint, and I use that term loosely. It just needs to be at a hard pace, and I would let them know that. Okay, so we've got our 3 things. So I've got my 10 seconds per side on my dead bug. I need 3 of this, so let's go 3 by 20 seconds. Let's go back and forth, and then we'll do the same thing with our bike. We're gonna go by 20 seconds. Okay, so essentially they're gonna go through these for 3 rounds with minimal rest. And that's going to give us our abdominals, our conditioning, and also making sure that they're moving and feeling well. And so now you can see that we've had a lot of work done in 50 minutes. Okay, now that we've got our day 1 wrapped up, we're gonna do our day 2, and you're gonna see how we basically just go with the opposite of our day 1, and we're gonna mix our activities up a little bit, but still use the same template, if that makes sense. So just follow along here really quick for me. So just like our last time, we're gonna go A1 and A2, and we're gonna pick a bilateral lower body exercise, but we're gonna go with a hinge first. So I'm really gonna go with a kettlebell RDL, knowing this client that we have, and they're gonna do 3 sets of 8 here. And we're gonna superset this with a push-based activity because we don't want to conflict with the grip. So we're gonna go with a hook lying, alternating, neutral grip, dumbbell floor press, and we're gonna do that for 3 sets of 8 per side. And so now you can see that we've got a push and a pull from a lower body perspective, but we're also getting some quality upper body work and some rotation here. We're getting our pelvis back behind us. They're kind of complementing each other here. Our next, we're gonna do the same thing with our Bs. So we want another lower body exercise. We've got a hinge. We want a knee dominant exercise here. And knowing that we did a heels elevated squat, we probably want to try to shift our center of mass back. That's kind of been our theme for this exercise template that we've been using so far. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna go with the front foot elevated goblet split squat. And same thing, we're gonna go with 3 sets of 8 per side. Again, you can mix your sets and your reps up here a little bit, but this is for assuming this is the first time I work with this athlete or client, I wanna make sure that things move well and they're not too taxed from the amount of work that we're gonna do. And now I made a pulling exercise, and since we kind of said that shoulder mobility might be an issue based upon our assessment process, we're gonna go with a half kneeling, high cable row. And again, that's gonna be 8 per side. Okay, so you can tell this looks just like our day 1 template. We just moved our squat to a hinge, and here we moved our hinge to a squat. Again, we went, instead of a horizontal pull, we went to horizontal push, and here instead of a vertical push, we went to a vertical pull. So you can see how these complement each other, but we're still getting all the quality movement patterns that we need within a week, but we're still tailoring this towards the individual based upon what they need and where they're currently at with their mobility demands. Okay, so now we got to do our accessory work and our conditioning. So let's get started on that. Again, you're going to see a very similar theme here. So I'm going to go with my C1 and my C2. And I used a lateral sled drag last time. So I'm going to try to find something similar to that that's going to continue to have them moving well from a lower body perspective, but not overly taxing. So I'm going to go with a reverse sled drag here. The same thing, we're just gonna do 25 yards. That's what we have in our facility, it works well. And then I need some kind of upper back, shoulder, prehab based activity here. And the last time we went with a face pull in a half kneeling position. So I'm gonna try to make this a little bit different here. I'm actually going to make this a half kneeling, kneeling, wall, supinated, band, pull apart with rotation. Now I know that's a lot. It's really going to focus on T-spine mobility as we open up and do our band pull apart. And then now we're ready for our conditioning and our abdominal work. So again, I'm gonna pick 3 activities. Okay, I need some kind of trunk exercise here. We did a dead bug last time. So for this particular client, we're gonna help them with their mobility and their hips. We're actually going to give them a half kneeling band chop. And we're gonna make that into cut. And same thing, we want 8 per side. And into cut just is gonna mean we're gonna come over the top stance leg. And now I'm ready for my actual conditioning portion of the day. I've got different routes I can do here. Last time I had a bike and a med ball slam. So let's try to figure out a way to make this a little bit different. This still goes with the way our client is going to feel. So we've already got some kind of sled-based work, so that was kind of out of the equation here. We've already hinged for the day. That's kind of taken out of the equation. So we want to find something that we can actually do well. So what I'm actually going to have them do is I'm going to have them do a landmine thruster. And you could go heels elevated if you needed to. That would be an option. And we're going to do 3 sets of 10 here. And then, so we've got a press and a lower body if we can find something cyclical. But what I'm going to do to actually make this a little bit more challenging for this person, we're actually going to make this a reverse bear crawl. And that's going to be 3 by 15 yards. We're going to start off kind of light because, again, if I'm riding this with a month in thought, this can eventually build up to 15 reps. This can eventually build up to 20 or 25 yards, and this can build up to 10 to 12 per side. So I've got a way to progress my conditioning here as well. So you can see that this template is still based kind of off the day one that we did. We're just complementing some of the movements that we didn't have and picking exercises that work well for this individual based upon their current limitations. In summary, hopefully today's video helped you figure out how to write a training program that's going to help your personal training clients. If you took away anything from this video, the biggest thing I can't stress enough is to do an assessment or intake process before actually working with somebody. It's going to give you such an advantage when it comes to writing your training program and making sure it's actually individualized and tailored towards the individual towards you. I know some people are going to say that, oh, you don't need an individualized training program for personal training clients. They just need to move and feel better. But the truth of the matter is, after working with hundreds of clients over a decade at this point, I found that it does actually help get you not only results faster, but helps them move and feel better and keeps them to continue to come back, which as a personal trainer is what you want from a business side. When it comes to writing your programs, use templates, use ideas, use similar thought processes when you see similar issues, as not one exercise is just meant for one individual person, but certain exercises work well for certain cases than not. So rather than bang your head against a wall, find those exercises, find those templates, use them to your advantage to not only speed up how you write your training programs, but get your training programs more effective. And then you'll find that when it comes to working with clients, it's much easier. You're not banging your head against the wall every single time you do an assessment. If you happen to like this video, do me a favor, smash that like button, leave a comment, let me know what you took away from this video and how it might help you as a personal trainer or writing training programs. Again, after writing probably over 1,000 programs at this point in my life, I've really gotten used to certain ways that I like to do stuff, but I still tweak the exercises towards the individuals that I have in front of me. And I can't stress that enough. That's going to help you not only level up your programming game, which, by the way, if you want to check out any way that I write programs, I have several videos on my channel, but I've also got over 1,000 exercise index videos that could help you level up your programming game, so I would check those out. But at the end of the day, it's just going to get you where you want to be with your training programs and get your clients to continue to buy in and excel with your training programs. So again, I appreciate you watching today's video, and I'll see you at the next video.